Hey folks, Multi here. It is May 20. Oh, what time? What day is it? Monday, May 27th. It is 6:30 in the morning, and looky here, what I got: Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door on Switch. Yep, I've been very excited for this ever since they announced it. I remember watching a lot of people's reactions to it and feeling exactly the same way myself when I first saw it. It's too bad I didn't get my reaction on camera, but what are you gonna do? Um, yeah, very excited for this. And I did mention a few weeks ago or a couple weeks ago or something, the idea of me live streaming the game as soon as it comes out. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get it until today. But since I have it now, I was thinking I could probably do live stream the game probably this weekend or maybe just later this week, like maybe Thursday or Friday night. That's what I'm thinking right now, actually. Now, there's been a lot of talk with the whole game's FPS being locked at 30 because it's on the Switch. And I think I'm not gonna lie, like as someone who is kind of crazy about performance and whatnot, yeah, I will have to say that I was actually kind of disappointed when they announced that the game would be running at 30 instead of 60 like the original GameCube release did. So, the GameCube was not as powerful as the Switch, and it was still able to do it. And I remember like looking at the comments and on Twitter, people saying like, "Oh, well, it ran at 60, but I barely ever did. Could barely maintain 60." I was like, "What? Did we play the same game?" Because like for me, I never really had that many frame skips throughout my playthroughs on the GameCube. I don't know. I mean, like maybe if you scratch up your disc, it might not be able to maintain 60, or maybe like if you, I don't know. Like the only times I remember it having trouble maintaining the frame rate was whenever you had those moments where there was like a crap ton of enemies or something on screen. It's like playing moments like that throughout the game. One in the very beginning that will come to mind to many, and but yeah, and that for me, the game always had no issue maintaining its perfect frame rate. So I don't agree with that whole argument why the game should be locked at 30. And apparently, people who have actually looked into the code of the game have discovered that supposedly there's some code in the game that kind of proves that the game was originally designed to run at 60, like so it can actually handle it natively just fine. And the only reason is that, and if that's the case, then that means that the only reason it's at 30 is just because it's on the Switch. It's on an extremely underpowered piece of hardware that's running on a chip that's like over 9 years old at this point. So, that just kind of defeats there's just too many Nintendo fanboys out there who are just overly apologetic about Nintendo's, I don't know, just all kinds of stupid decisions that they tend to make. And one of them is running, just releasing this. Well, I mean, the chip was only 2 years old at the time they released it, but like by now we should have already had a Switch Pro or something like that along those lines that could actually run this game at 60. And lo and behold, we had a freaking GameCube remake just last year that ran perfect 60, Metroid Prime Remastered. That to me alone is proof that this is inexcusable, like having this game running at only 30. So it's gonna throw the timing off for the action commands too. That's the other thing too. I remember back when I was little, like I remember like switching between the original Paper Mario on the N64 and Thousand Year Door on GameCube. I remember like I would have trouble like with the action commands, like whenever I switched between the two games. I couldn't figure out why it was at the time. That's because the little me didn't know anything about frame rate differences, and that's what it was. So yeah, like all this time, I've every time I played through the original GameCube release, it's always maintained a perfect 60 aside from those tiny little moments throughout the game. Look, all I'm saying is that the original game ran at 60 perfectly well on a GameCube. Granted, the GameCube was more powerful than the PS2 at the time. It was kind of powerful at the time. So I'll give it that. And the Switch is underpowered compared to the other consoles uh, that it's up against, and they remade the game from the ground up. But my whole thing is like, okay, so if the Switch is underpowered for the game, then why not wait until you actually have more powerful hardware to release it on, so you could actually run it at 60? Either way you look at it, like there's just no excuse, like for the way the game is the way it is. And you might some people I know are going to make the argument that it's a kids game. Nintendo's made trying to appeal to kids, and it's pretty obvious that that's not the case in recent times. And especially with this game is 20 years old. 20 years old. Nintendo knows what they were doing with this game. They know they made this game specifically to appeal to people who actually enjoyed this game, because those are people who are going to buy this game. So, the people that are guaranteed to buy the game, basically. So either way you look at it, there's really not really any justification for the game running at 30. But regardless of all that, I got the game now. So I'm going to take it home. I'm going to put in my Switch. I'm going to install any necessary updates. And then from that point on, I'm going to dump that shit on SD card, load that SD card on my PC, and fire it up on Ryujinx, because there are already 60 FPS mods and cheats for this game already on Ryujinx within a week of its release. And I've looked at the cheats. All they did was change like a few lines of code, basically. That's it. So that alone right there is proof that this game could easily run at 60 the way it was made. It easily could. They only locked it at 30 because of the Switch. That's why. So no matter how you spin this, there's no justification for it for me. It doesn't matter what people say. There's no arguments that would change my mind about it, honestly. I'm gonna be running at 60 on my PC. If Nintendo doesn't want to release their Switch 2 yet, fine. I got my own Switch 2, and that's my PC, because that's how I'm gonna be running it now. Because I did that over the weekend. I did that whole process, what I'm talking about, over the weekend. And I dumped a bunch of my Switch games on my PC. My PC is now a Switch emulator ready. And I'm going to be, yeah, and I look forward to using it for pretty much all my single player experiences. Whether it be Switch, Wii U, 3DS. I did that process with all of them. I can just simply dump my games that I want to play on my PC, and it's that simple. So the question is, am I going to be using that for the live stream later this week? And I think my answer should be pretty obvious to that, because at this point there really is no reason for me to play single player games on my Switch ever again, especially if they usually run at 30 on the hardware when they could be running at 60 on my PC and potentially 4K. Of course, I don't do 4K myself because my PC is not capable of 4K. Well, actually it is, but my monitor is not capable of 4K. I don't have 4K display, but my PC could probably do just fine to 3080, so yeah, that's all I have to say, folks. I'll see y'all later. Maybe tomorrow, maybe later this week. Who knows? This is my last week at Walmart, so let's, I don't know, just be thankful when it's finally over. Bye.